So you can imagine the time they're spending with their coach are very intense and a lot, and then there will be fewer time they can have in the school to have the company by the other teachers. So in this kind of really isolated situations, and the coach are very close with the student, it's really hard for them to have another chance, another way to speak out if there's any mistreating happening on them.
In last week's episode, Katia Lin of the Humanistic Education Foundation talked about the harsh realities inside Taiwan's sports class programs, where young athletes endure long hours of training, corporal punishment, and even abuse and isolation. This week we continue our conversation with Katia to find out what happens when students try to resist, speak out, or simply can't keep up with the pressure. You're listening to The Divide. My name is Iris Xu. Now, why is it so difficult for athlete students to speak out when they encounter abuse?
It's very important, but it's very hard to happen, especially in the athlete class. The most shocking part for me is we all have experience Taiwan has a really high standard on academic. So basically, our age, we are not being slaved, or we're not exploited by the competition training. No, but we are exploited for have a better score in the test. But this will end when we go to university. Like when we go to college, we go to university, we enjoy the real study and everything, right? However, for the athlete trainer, for the athlete student, the thing is very different. Like even they go to the college, it's very hard for them to choose the realms outside the sports, because what they're doing most of the time is the sports, and they have to start to put their time in here, most of their time in here, in a very early age. So when they turn to the age like 18, 17 years old, they are going to college, they couldn't have another ability except competitions. But however, if you go to a sport department, you still need a basic academic ability. But lack with this, so even they go to the college, sometimes they still drop off because they couldn't adapt to the requirements of the university. So in this case, our university, they develop a system. It's very unique. It's a department for competitions, which is, you can imagine those who will go to this department, which is exactly those students who study in athlete class. Once they graduate, they find out they probably couldn't survive in the academic environment. They will go to the competition department. And in there, they keep doing the best thing they can do to competing.
Going back to high school and junior high schools, do you think the school treats these athletic classes different from regular classes when it comes to corporal punishment?
Yes, it is very different. Like if you're in the ordinary class and any teachers has any kind of corporal punishment, like even it was like ask the student to standing up for 1 hour, will be considered as a corporal punishment. The teacher will be sent to the investigations and probably will influence her or his job. But however, in the case of the athlete class, our participant, they reported like some of them were going in the college. They go to study for educations. And when study educations, they're learning what is corporal punishment, what is the ethic of the teacher, and you shouldn't do some punishment, discipline. And they find out what is like standing penalty, like standing for 1 hour, considering as a corporal punishment. But they do it all the days. Like they have been doing it like all the time, but nobody telling them it's wrong, and it's actually hurting their rights, but nobody's saying that until one day he become adult and then he study, then he find it out. So there's a very different view on the discipline to the ordinary class and the athlete class. And also the school has a different standard about academic to them too. Like for example, the athlete class, some of them would say, most of them would say, because they have to go competition, so they drop off many school time. Yes, the school probably will have some extra time, extra session for them. They were arranging this time for them to make up their study. However, also they has experience that the teacher or the school will give them, when they have the final exam, the school will give them a different version of the exam paper than the ordinary class, which
Cheating.
Yes, it's cheating. Because if they have a very low score in the final exam or some major exam, they probably will influence them. They couldn't go competitions. Yeah, so they make them to have a better score, which is give them a much more simple exam paper. So some of them saying like they were in junior high school, the exam paper from the math, it's just like a plus and minus. It's like a primary school stage. So the standard was like really low. So in this way, even though the school saying we have given the extra class to try to make up those time they're missing because of training and competition, the standard they give to this class is already very different, and that influenced their view to looking at their study too.
It sounds like the regulations set up were not followed.
Yes, it is like that. Like they will say we have these kind of regulations. In real, they're not really applying it.
Is corporal punishment illegal?
Yes, it is illegal in Taiwan. But from somehow they were considering this is part of training. And even some of our participants, they say they are confusing what is training and what is corporal punishment, because the coach might not just beaten them. Sometimes they will ask them to do the jogging, the extra run, the extra throwing, and sometimes because related to they're showing a poor performance in that technique, so the coach might ask them to doing more or using this as a penalty.
I believe there is going to be a lot of people that says, well, because they are athletes, they need to have a different set of requirements.
Yes, they're feeling like if you are an athlete, then you should have the perseverance. You have to endure those those kind of pain that most people couldn't take, and you have to endurance those kind of long training to drive yourself to better. However, nowadays we have sports science, and in the sports science, it shows like less is more. So we already go to a different approach for the elite of the sport. So we shouldn't push this to use the old standard to nowadays.
I see. And what's your foundation's recommendation when it comes to these schools that really just don't follow regulations?
For the school not following the regulations, of course, there's even though they have been continued doing this, but the reason they can continue doing this is not because it's fine. It is illegal, but nobody reported. So what we're doing is like once any student approach to us, then we have the this kind of meeting. We have our own investigation on the case to understand the overall situations, and then we will looking for to launch an official investigation from the education system. So also the legislative, they will look into the government asking the administrative to make sure the investigation does run, and then they also look into each problem of each coaches or the supervisor, the president, to ask their responsibility.
Speaking of responsibilities, there's one school in particular that has failed its responsibility to protect its students.
It's like a high standard university, NTNU, which is exactly happening in the competition department. There's a team, because competition department is like for the athlete to keep winning gold medal for the school, right? They have many in NTNU. It is a majority for most athlete students. They were dreaming to go to there because NTNU also might guarantee they have a job as a teachers, and also it's a good university. So most of them was like it was like a top choice for the athlete student. They have many sporting, and there's one sporting which is the soccer, female soccer, and it happening with their professor, which is also their coach, and they have like it's been a long term. It has been exploit the student by making the student to put most of their time in the training, and they couldn't to develop other their habits, their other careers, and even worse is like the professor asking the student pushing the student to become the participant of her experiment on her research. So this is including like they have to running for some really exhaustive training because it's for the athlete study, and also they have to drawing their blood to running some tests, and all of this is not out of the willing of the student. They didn't receive any agreement of the experiment. They even didn't know what kind of experiment they are doing, what kind of research they are joining. And when they saying like they don't want to join it, the professor will scolding them, and she will, even worse, like she will kick them out from the team, which means they couldn't graduate, because for the competition department, usually you will have a 必修学分, which is like a mandatory score, which is like you have to finish the training of your sports, which is related to this professor, because she's the professor and also the coach for the female soccer team. So this is a very serious situation. It's a very serious case, and it was shock to the society. It's not only because it's serious, it's also because this case is already being exposed like 1 year ago, and it was by a legislative. She was like exposed this case, and this case already into the investigations. However, after 1 year of the investigation, the result we're receiving is that the school is not going to fire the teacher, even though the reports of the investigations was clearly saying this professor shouldn't be teacher anymore. She should be fired, and then couldn't be teacher for 2 years. This is a advice from the report. However, this kind of advice from the investigation still need to pass through the meeting of the school. But after the meeting of the school, the result is just 5 penalties on like she couldn't get some extra hours, she couldn't do some extra job, she couldn't get a promotion on her salary for 1 year, and that's all. It's like become a very light and unbalanced punishment on her. So in this case, we launched the press, and after the press reveal to the Taiwan society, and then people start to discuss this a lot. However, we have to see like most people, they put their focus on because this is including like they drawing the blood from the players, from the student, and then to run some tests. So many people was like focused on this against the medical procedures. This is wrong. This is like seriously violating them. But which they didn't see is this is just one part of the exploitations of the athlete class. But there's more, which is they also join this kind of research. If you look into the paper of the professor, this research is like looking for the damage and how to preventing the damage of the soccer players. But how to preventing how to reducing the damage during the competitions, then you have to create the damage. So the experiment is like making them to do a high intensity training, which is similar with a match of the soccer play, to see how's the damage of their muscle. So in some research, they making them to do every day. They have to run soccer competitions, and consecutive for 6 days. So 6 days, every day you have one competitions. But looking in our professional league of the soccer player, it's just 1 week, one competitions. But they have to do 6 consecutive competition every day. So you can imagine what kind of big damage can create on their body, and their athlete. That's their biggest asset. This is the same with athlete class. The coach will take all the way, all the thing he can do to make sure he can get a gold medal for the team, no matter what this can bring to the damage or cause some bad influence to the body or to their academic study. The same to the NTNU case. The professor looking for her achievement in the research. So what she's doing is that she use everything she can use. She take everything she can take from this student. We just started looking into those reports, and then we realize it's not only drawing the blood, it's also using their body, using their strengths to make a valuable research of herself.
The prosecutors are now looking into this.
Yes, this case is very serious. Like, it has many levels. First is about the teacher was bullying the student, like mistreating the student. So the school administrative need to give the penalty of the professors. For now, it's like 4 years. She is laid off for 4 years and couldn't be the teacher anymore. But there are some more situations like they have find out there were 16 research of her might have problems. So now our Ministry of Educations, they are looking into these 6 researches. So each of them, if they have the same issue, like violating some law and regulation, then they will topping out the penalty of the professors. There's situation like she forced the student to join the experiment. So this is the part of our Ministry of Health. They will also launch the penalty on her. And also for the judicial system, they are also looking this case because this is this is also a penalty crime. And also she asking the student to returning there, because if you are helping an experiment task as a participant, usually you have a fee for participant, and she will ask the student to return his participant fee to her, saying this is for the sporting to using. Wow, so all those money just go back to the professor's pocket, and this will considering a criminal crime. So the judicial system, they are the prosecutor, they are also doing the investigation to the professor for composing the student to join the experiment, and also about the financial part.
This is criminal on so many levels.
It is like so this is a really shocking, because this professor herself is also a very famous soccer player before, and she could be a ideal model about the athlete. Like you play really good in the competition in your sport field, and you can earn so many credit from society, and you can become a professor in a really decent university. And however, we believe this is not a unique case. It's a serious case, but it's not unique. It's systematically the professor Miss Zhou. She is one of the victims of this system, and that's how this ending up. So this is our question too. If the athlete class, the purpose of the athlete class is to telling the student, like, you join this class even though you are bad in the study, but if you are good in the sport, you are promised to have a good, better futures, a bright futures. But that's how we see it. We probably will ending up. You will be hurt and injured, and when you become the top of this system, you might become the person to exploit the student, which is your juniors too. Then we have these big questions like, is this really a successful system, or it might be a failure system which creating too many damage and it giving a fake dream to the student, but now they couldn't do anything else, so they have to do the same thing as this professor.
Thank you for listening. This episode of The Divide is produced by Radio Taiwan International.